Hello, namaskar, namaskaram, namaskar. My name is Pooja Dwivedi. Welcome to my class. Today we are going to discuss the important provisions of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita that is going to replace the Indian Penal Code. Now, the big question is, has it really repealed sedition or ceased sedition to be in existence, or it has made it more draconian with its section 150? We are going to discuss all this in detail. Before I begin, I would like to inform you that whatever I teach here is provided for through my Telegram channel in the form of the PDF that I'm using. It's Pooja Dwivedi UPSC. If you have any questions regarding this examination, you can also talk to me on my Instagram. These are the various things that we have to cover step by step. The bills that have been introduced to replace the IPC, the CrPC and the Indian Evidence Act, namely. But the major focus will be on the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, that is replacing the Indian Penal Code that has guided our criminal justice system since a really long time. Then we will talk about sedition, the current law, compare it to the other law that has been brought out. The Kedarnath Singh ruling, what did this particular landmark case say about the sedition and what is expected of it. Moving on. The three bills that have been introduced in the Lok Sabha. First is the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. This will replace the IPC. Then Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita. This will replace the Code of Criminal Procedure. And then we have the Bharatiya Sakshya Bill. This is the Indian Evidence Act. And all these three important bills will replace the important acts which have been in existence since a really long period of time. The Home Minister said that, of course, the IPC was brought into existence because the colonial government had to rule with an iron fist, and disaffection against the government was frowned upon. That was carried on forward by the independent government as well. But currently, let us see what has changed. So, the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023, it has been brought to consolidate and amend the provisions related to offences and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Then we have the Bharatiya Nagarik Suraksha Sanhita, the CrPC, and finally the Bharatiya Sakshya Bill of 2023. See, if we talk about the background, it is not all of a sudden that these bills have been brought out of the blue. It was in March 2020 when the central government formulated a criminal law reforms committee in order to make suggestions what revisions should be made in three particular laws: IPC, CrPC and Indian Evidence Act. It was headed by Professor Dr. Ranbir Singh, the then VC of the National Law University, Delhi, among other people. Now, in February 2022, the committee submitted a report to the government. Many suggestions were actually solicited from the public only. In April 2022, the Law Ministry had told the Rajya Sabha that the government has undertaken the process for the comprehensive review of it. And then the Bharatiya Nagarik Sanhita, Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita came up with 22 provisions of IPC, as in it is changing 22 provisions of the IPC, proposes changes to it's deleting 22 provisions, proposing changes to 175 existing provisions and introducing 9 new sections. And in total, if we have to call out, it has 356 amendments. It gives precedence or preference, or you can say, if there is a comparison, the preference will be given to offences against the state, the crime against women and children, and murder. Now, for the first time, the offences of terrorist activities as well as organized crimes have been added. That means a crime that has a well-structured nexus. Whenever a crime has to take place, sometimes it's unorganized. That means it may not have connections in the underground world. But if it has many connections, if every activity to give action, implementation to that crime has a connection, has a proper structure, hierarchy, that is organized crime, such as drug trafficking, smuggling, and terrorist activities also. It will repeal the offense of sedition. Repeal means sedition will no longer exist as in the IPC. Right now we have 124A, right? But now it has been replaced by section 150 of this particular bill that has been brought out. So do not just think that sedition doesn't exist anymore. It does. The new bill replaces the sedition provision with section 150, and section 150 says these are seditious activities if they are endangering the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India. What is the actual definition has not been provided. So it's a very open-ended term. Anybody can be challenging the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India. The government wants it to. So that is what the major concern is about. It also has calls for punishment for mob lynching, and in certain cases death penalty is there. What is mob lynching? When a person is being attacked by not one, not two, but by a mob, by a group of people. It is very easy to escape when there is a group of people. If you are a group of people who is attacking another person, it becomes easier for you to escape the evidence. But in certain cases, death penalty has also been given. Death penalty will be there for rape of a minor, 20 years jail to life imprisonment for gang rape, which has increased tremendously, and also 1 year imprisonment for bribing voters during polls. This has also been provided. For the first time ever, there is a mention for calls for community services. Community services means being a part of those structures which are helping people. And this is like the USA only. USA has community services for petty thefts like petty theft, vandalism, drunk driving. Vandalism is when you are destroying property or like that. But it should not be on a large scale, of course. So community services are also provided for the first time ever in the criminal justice system. And this shows us that this particular bill is not only punitive. That means it is not just pronouncing out the punishments, but also reformative. It is said that if a person is cared for, if the person becomes a part of the integrated society, they can also reform, they can change. That is why we are calling it reformative as well. Alright, now let's look at the various provisions. Salient features, let's go through them one by one. Separate provision has been given for mob lynching, which is punishable by 7 years, in some cases death penalty. Ex parte trial and conviction of fugitives who are running from the place of origin of crime. Ex parte means that if the party is not actually present, only one party is present, the judgment can be pronounced. Formal provisions are there for zero FIR. What is zero FIR? When an FIR is lodged out of the jurisdiction of a police station, as in, supposedly a crime has occurred in place X, but a person wants to lodge their complaint in the form of FIR. It will be in this particular station, and Y's jurisdiction is not, of course, this area X, but still there is a provision that you have to get FIR done. This is zero FIR. After that, it is passed on to the police station of concern. This will enable citizens to lodge an FIR at any police station and out of the matter of their jurisdiction. Zero FIR must be sent over to the concerned police station which has a jurisdiction over that area within 15 days after registration. What does this particular provision tell us? That this particular provision wants criminal justice system to be speedy and effective. Deemed sanctions to prosecute civil servants, police officers who are accused of criminal offences, in cases of authorities' failure to respond within 120 days of application. This increases accountability and responsibility. That is why. Digitization of complete process starting from registration of FIRs to maintenance of case diaries and filing of charge sheet, delivery of judgment. What is this? This is trying to tell everybody that digitization increase transparency, what is actually happening in the country. And also it is very informative. If somebody wants to ensure that there is no lags in the entire chain of events, if I have to point out one person in the chain of events through digitization, it becomes very easy for me to host somebody, to make somebody responsible for the accountability. Sir, what is wrong with your step? Like that. And complete trial, which also includes cross-examination, appeal to be facilitated via video conferencing. But via video conferencing, one thing is there. Here it is written, videography while recording statement of victims of sexual crimes mandatory. This is a double-edged sword. Although when videography is being done, that is fine, in order to make sure that the victim is not budging from their statement first, because we had videography. Second is that it may also seem possible that people get coaxed or forced to say something on video, and that can be used as evidence. Another problem is that the right to be forgotten. If the victim wants to be forgotten from the entire government diary system, then what will be the steps for that? They have to see that as well. Now, next punishment for rape of minor includes imposition of death penalty. Death penalty, minor, that means a child, a person who is below the age of 18 years Charge sheet to be mandatorily filed within 19 days of FIR. Criminal justice system to be given a good propel. But when there is a proper time that has been given, it could also happen that the police may not work correctly. Just in order to fulfill the demand of 90 days, wrong charge sheet can also be there. This is a double-edged sword. We have to ensure that we humanize the police enough, train our police and personnel enough to deal with this. And also there is a lack of manpower. Sometimes, the investigation officer, the police, who is dealing with one FIR can also be dealing with other FIRs. So we have lack of human resources as well. That should not, strike upon the quality of the FIR and the charge sheet. Now the court may extend such time by further 19 days. 90 days. The total time to wind up the entire case is 180 days. Courts to finish framing of charges within 60 days of receiving the charge sheet. Justice system to be made efficient. But again, human resources is a big problem over here. We have to fill the vacancy in such a manner that one judge per population, it is doing justice to that system as well. Judgment to be mandatorily delivered within 30 days after conclusion of hearing. It should be made available online within 7 days of pronouncement. Then videography is mandatory during search and seizure as well, so that evidence is not foiled upon. Then forensic teams to be mandatorily visiting crime scenes for offences which involves punishment of more than 7 years. When there is a punishment under a section of more than 7 years, then forensic team will go there. Also deployment of forensic science laboratories, mobile forensic science laboratory should be there at the district level, so that the evidence are not trampled with. Then no case punishable with 7 years or more shall be withdrawn without providing opportunity of hearing to the victim. Okay, this is also very important. That means this particular law is becoming more victim centric. That is good. Then deployment of MobileFSL, I have already told you this and this. Scope of summary trials expanded to offences punishable up to 3 years. It will reduce 40% cases in the Sessions Code. Separate and harsh punishment for organized crime, that I have already told you. Separate provisions for penalizing rape of women under false pretext of marriage or job. Now, this particular provision can also be trampled with. If a person has promised a job or marriage to a woman and under that pretext they have intercourse, what happens is that this is very open to interpretation. As in, maybe the person, the girl or the woman or the person, here it is written women, so I am talking about women only. So if the woman had consent at that time when she was having intercourse, now she can also use this provision against the man. So there should be proper safeguards as well. But because the number has increased so much of such instances, the government had to bring out this law. Okay. Then separate provision for chain, mobile snatching and similar miscreant activities, petty theft. This is punishment for offences against children. It has been enhanced from earlier 7 years imprisonment to up to 10 years. Then punishment of death penalty can be commuted or reduced to life term. If somebody has been given death penalty, it's not like they will be now commuted to a jail term of 1 year. No, because the government has to break the political nexus between the criminals and the politicians, and the politicians have used the laws in order to show that they are beneficial for these criminals. That is what the government is trying to do. Punishment of life term may max be commuted to up to 7 years imprisonment, and punishment of 7 years may be commuted to 3 years. It should not be up to, it's not up to here, it's 2. That means 7 years at the least. And then 7 years may be commuted to 3 years and no less. Videography of vehicles seized for involvement in any offence is mandatory. Then because of this only we can know what is the nexus behind this, who provides this vehicle, who is the owner of this vehicle. Is that owner involved in some other crimes as well, like this, whereafter a certified copy will be submitted to the court to enable disposal of seized vehicle. The government will dispose of that vehicle as well. Now, sedition. Sedition, as recommended by the recent Law Commission, said that we do not need to remove sedition, but we have to ensure that the ruling in the Justice ruling in the landmark Kedarnath Singh case should be told. Did the government do that? I do not think so. Let's talk about how. See, right now sedition is dealt under section 124A of the IPC. It says whoever by words. These words can be either verbal, like I'm speaking, this is spoken, or written. Like if I tell you to raise arms, to shoot this particular minister, if it is written over here, but I'm not saying anything, but I'm recording the video and I'm publishing it, then that is also sedition. Because why? First of all, the words are written. Secondly, I have the intent to shoot a particular minister. I am exciting you. Shoot this particular minister. This minister actually belongs to the government, and this government is established by law. So there are many facets to it. Then visible representation. I can also use a picture. I can use one man over here and I write citizens of India. I can make this person drawing, hold a gun, and another person is drawn over here, the minister, like this. That is visible representation. Otherwise, brings or attempts to bring into hatred or contempt, or excites or attempts to excite disaffection towards the government established by law in India. And sedition, for that very matter, has been always used against journalists. The Supreme Court has said that until and unless there is an intent to have any sort of violent anarchy against the government established by law, it cannot be treated as sedition. The Supreme Court said, please try to refrain from filing charges under sedition. If it is okay that if the journalist, in the interest of the public, are trying to tell the public that this particular policy of the government is good or not for you, so that is fine. But if there is any sort of intent to have a violent form of anarchy or revolution against the government which has been established by law. Established by law means the constitution has provided for that government to be formed. Then it will be known as sedition. Then, okay, it shall be punished with imprisonment for life, or to which fine may be added, or with imprisonment which may extend to 3 years. This was also one option. To which fine may be added, or with fine. Both are the basic punishments. Then, now the section 150 says, everything is same, but here it is written, acts endangering sovereignty, unity and integrity of India. Because these are so many open-ended terms, these can easily be used against somebody. Then, here, earlier it was life imprisonment or fine can be added. Then imprisonment up to 3 years, right? Here the imprisonment can extend to 7 years. It shall also be liable to fine. Okay, remember that. The punishment has changed. Then, in the 1962 Kedarnath Singh case, the Supreme Court said that, okay, sedition is good for the country, but unless it is accompanied by an incidence for call of violence. If I tell everybody, go out to the markets and get a license for your guns and, bomb the houses of the ministers and the government, we will change the government like that. No, this is definitely sedition. But if I tell you about this particular law I am telling you about, I have also told you about the shortcomings of them. That is not sedition. A dissent is needed in this country so that we can grow as a whole. Like you will write answers, I will tell you what is correct in that and what is not correct. If you accept it, it is for your betterment. If you don't, then it's okay, you can improve further on your own. So it works like that. Dissent is very important. And that is why it is important that we scrutinize all the bills that are placed in the parliament. That is why we have a parliament. So dissent is a safety valve. Criticism of the government cannot be labeled as sedition. If I am criticizing the government, then it's not sedition. I can say, oh my God, this government is doing so bad in these particular areas. That's not sedition. Have I called for revolutionizing the system by violence? I can call for vote for another party, not this one. I can say that. This is my right to, first of all, speech, and I also have right to intent. What is right to intent? My intention. I have the right to have my intention. Just because you are observing it from your point of view, if you're thinking that my intention is wrong, but I have the right to intent, I will tell you what my intent was. That is right to intent. We must all develop it. So 7 principles have been given by the Supreme Court where we can actually not apply sedition. The expression the government established by law has to be distinguished from the person for the time being engaged in carrying out administration. Because if the person who is carrying the administration of that area is not being identified as the government of India, then sedition cannot be applied. Government established by law is the visible symbol of the state, like DM, DSP. These are a part of the state. So the person who is carrying the law has to be, of course, carrying out the administration has to be distinguished by a person who is symbolizing the government of India. Then any act within the meaning of this section 124A which have the effect of subverting the government by bringing contempt or hatred. This is too long because it has been actually quoted by the Supreme Court, so I have provided it for your notes making. But the thing is that what is the intention behind the contempt? As in, what can be considered as disaffection and conscious telling of the laws to the public. This should also be differentiated. If a person is criticizing constructively the government's policies or the government's moves, then that is not seditious. Comments, however strongly worded, if they are expressing disapprobation of actions of the government without exciting any sort of violence against the government, that is not sedition. A citizen, because of all the citizens have the right to say or write whatever they like about the government, until and unless it is not accompanied by violence, it's not seditious. Accompanied by violence means the person telling the others to revolutionize the system from armed conflict, armed rebellion. Okay. The provision of this section also reads as a whole along the explanation, make it reasonably clear that the section aims at rendering penal only such activities as would be intended. It is only when the words written or spoken which have the pernicious tendency or intention of creating public disorder. If I want to create anarchy, then it will be a seditious activity. And the Supreme Court has also said limit the activities because sedition is a big charge, life imprisonment. And now 7 years of imprisonment is also there. That is why limit should be there. Then this particular PPT shows us that we have launched our next batch, which is available at a high discount. That is Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav sale. It is valid only till the 15th of August. And if you want to take admission, make sure you take it as soon as possible. English, Hindi, English, P2I batches. P2I means Prelims Mains Interview. If you're a student for UPSC 2024, this is a one-stop solution for every issue. Just use the code PDLive and you will get it for 26,999. Remember, PDLive, use it. This is valid till 15th August and our batches are launching from today itself, 11th August, right? So do not worry about the classes that you have missed. First is the orientation class only and study material will be given to you. The recorded classes will be given which you have missed. Don't worry about that. And also we have optionals that are on sale. Till 15th of August, PSIR, Sociology, Geography, Anthropology, PubAd, History, Mathematics, Philosophy, Hindi Sahitya will be in Hindi. Apart from that, all others are English and Hindi both. And this is also available at 12,999. This is down from 20,499 if you use the code PDLive, valid till 15th of August. And now we have a prelims question for you to solve. Those who answered it correctly will get their names in the next class. I will pronounce the winners. With reference to the Parliament of India, which of the following parliamentary committee scrutinizes and reports to the House whether the powers to make regulation, rules, sub-rules, bylaws, etc. conferred by the Constitution or delegated by the Parliament are being properly exercised by the executive within the scope of such delegation, and the options you have to choose from are this. Okay, so that's it. Thank you so much for watching and stay updated.